next day, I was getting Rosalie ready to go buy her a new pair of stockings, when suddenly our telephone rang. It was the War Department. They said that Alex's ship, the USAT Dorchester, had gone down, and that Alex wasn't one of the survivors. I didn't want to believe that at first. But finally, I had to accept the reality that I would never see my husband again. That I would have to raise my daughter on my own. Once I realized that, I could start moving on. At least, that's what everybody said. The problem was, I had always planned on moving on with Alex. But now I was moving on with a gold star. Some years after the war ended, the story of my husband and the 3 other chaplains with him grew popular. The world knew them as the Four Immortal Chaplains, but I knew them as John, Clark, George, and Alex. 4 good men who gave life jackets until there weren't any left, and then each took off their own and gave it to someone who didn't have it.
I could hardly see due to the faint light of the languid moon. And when I looked over at the Dorchester, it looked like the ship was hovering in midair. The bow was already underwater, and crests lapped at the foot of the superstructure amidships. That was when I saw the 4 lieutenants standing on the exposed hull near the fantail in the dim light, accented by a dozen or so flashlights, some red, some white, waving around in the void. I'd only met them a couple of weeks earlier, but I knew that because of these men, my life, for however much longer it lasted, would never be the same because of them. I could see their mouths moving, but for a time I couldn't hear anything. Then, straining, I caught snatches of their voices, interspersed with the gusts of wind, the slap of the waves against the lifeboat, and the cries of dying men in the water. It was the 4 chaplains praying, each lifting up their separate faith messages and traditions, interweaving them into one bold, fearless acclamation of God's love. Chaplain Good was saying a Hebrew prayer. At the same time, Chaplain George Fox offered the 23rd Psalm. Chaplain John Washington was saying the act of contrition. And Chaplain Clark Pauling offered the Lord's Prayer. As each man finished, the hearty sound they made gradually got softer and faded away. I wonder what the 4 of them were thinking there. Having led upright lives, certainly a lot more upright than mine, I had no doubt. Having done everything right, and having devoted their lives and careers to serving God. And now here they were, bound to die as war casualties. And here I was, alive, at least for the time being, with at least a chance of survival. I had a life jacket, but hadn't worn it. That was my choice, and in a fair world, I should be paying for my mistake. Paying with my life. But John Washington had stepped in and taken my place. Taken my place so that I, the least worthy, might live. Why? For what? My thoughts were interrupted once again by an unexpected sound. Music. The chaplains were singing. Eternal Father, strong to save, whose arm hath bound the restless wave. They stood on the exposed hull, bracing one another on the slippery surface, arms locked tightly together, their voices raised in this final song of triumph. Who bids the mighty ocean deep its own appointed limits keep? The singing continued undiminished as water lapped over the tops of their shoes. Oh, hear us when we cry to thee, for those in peril